Hello, hello, hello. Margaret Lloyd here, Eternal Shift, New Life. Today we're going to be talking about 20 signs of emotional manipulation to watch out for. Watch out for those narcissists that are trying to manipulate you into doing something that you don't want to do. We're going to learn how to stop those fools. All right? All righty. There are several clear signs of emotional manipulation, but there's one telltale sign that stands out above the rest. Before we get into the signs of emotional manipulation, you should know we need to be clear about what exactly emotional manipulation is. Emotional manipulation occurs when an individual you're interacting with attempts to use your emotions in order to get what they want. It is plain and simple a power play. Says psychoanalyst Robin Stern, PhD, co-founder and associate director of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, tells the Health. And the goal is to control you. Absolutely. If they can manipulate you, they will then learn to control you. Emotional manipulation can happen in romantic relationships, among family members, at work, and in just about any interpersonal situation. In fact, it's incredibly common, according to Amelia Kelly, PhD, as well as so she has a PhD and licensed mental health counselor and trauma-informed therapist, as well as co-author of What I Wish I Knew: Surviving and Thriving After an Abusive Relationship. I'm going to have to read that book. Absolutely. What is emotional manipulation? These therapists outline that emotional manipulation is a form of abuse found in many types of relationships, including between romantic partners, family members, family, friends, co-workers, often very subtle and challenging to recognize. This form of abuse causes a great deal of distress and harm for the victim, Kelly explains. It can cause insecurities, absolutely. I was very insecure. Self-doubt, I continued to doubt myself. Isolation from others outside of the relationship, yep, absolutely. He even tried to take my kids away from me. He tried to take me away from them. So he tried to isolate me from my children by being abusive to them, and then they don't want to ever be around us. That's how he emotionally abused me. By doing things against my children, which then went against me. All right. So, the number one sign of emotional manipulation, if emotional manipulation is, by its very nature, underhanded and difficult to spot, then how are you supposed to recognize it, much less avoid it or stop it? There is one telltale sign according to Stern, and that's confusion. If you have ever hung up on the phone or left a conversation wondering What on earth was that? Stern says there's a chance the other person was being emotionally manipulative because they're attempting to override your own instincts, self-knowledge, and emotions. You may be left feeling incredibly confused about what just hit you, what was said, a feeling they then use to their advantage to control you. Stern says that it is worse. Stern says that at its worst, this type of manipulation can make even the most emotionally stable person doubt their own good sense or make them feel like they're going crazy. I used to feel like I was going crazy. I still do some days. Because of the people I'm around, they tend to drive me crazy. But that's okay. Fortunately, and he did. He kept me confused all the time. That's how he was able to manipulate me, keep me in a state of confusion, and I'm all his. Fortunately, when you've learned the signs of emotional manipulation, it becomes much easier to spot it when it's happening to you or a loved one. Even in pop culture and the news, says Joanne Frederick, the news will confuse you. No shit. They do that on purpose. I do not like watching the news because to me, all that is a bunch of confusion. Yep. And excuse me for eating. My stomach's kind of cratering on me. Sugar raw. Okay. Other signs of emotional manipulation to help you navigate whether you're dealing with a manipulator, as experts Stern, Kelly, and Frederick laid out even more signs of emotional manipulation for readers of the Healthy to Track. They make you doubt your own reality. Absolutely. This is called gaslighting. And it's a top tactic of emotional abusers. The goal of gaslighting is to make you feel like you can't trust your own experiences so that you'll instead allow the manipulator to control you, says Stern. Absolutely. You know, when we would get into arguments, you know, I would tell Martin that I didn't like the feelings that I had after having sex with other guys. I didn't like it. It didn't feel right. But he would make it seem like that was my imagination, that it's perfectly right, that everybody does it. Just because everybody does it, does that make it right? If everybody jumped from the devil's tower to the ground, would you? Nope, because I know it'd kill me. I'm smarter than that. They isolate you from other relationships. Talking to other trusted people in your life may help you gain insight or see through the emotional manipulation, but not if he keeps you away from them. So a manipulator seeks to make you feel like they are the only ones you can trust. Everybody else is lying to you. In order to continue the manipulation tactics, isolation is essential, as they want to eliminate the chance that their victim will gain insight into the abuse. Absolutely. I used to have friends. I used to hang out with friends. Now I don't, because he manipulated me to the point that my friends wanted nothing to do with me because I allowed him to manipulate me. They start fights often. One way to short circuit a healthy discussion and exert control is to start an argument, blowing the current conflict out of proportion, bringing up past conflicts, or twisting the conflict into something else, says Kelly. Manipulators seek out arguments, often revealing in perceived witty and intelligent retorts and invalidating your feelings. Absolutely. You always end up apologizing. Absolutely. Every time we'd get into an argument, it was me having to apologize. He rarely ever did. Emotional manipulators often play the victim as a way to avoid responsibility for their actions and make you feel compelled to help them. They are so good at this that you always end up apologizing to them, even if they were in the wrong, says Frederick. They bring outside people into disagreements. It's called triangulation. This tactic makes it harder to stand up for yourself as the manipulator brings in family, friends, co-workers on their side, says Frederick. They will call on others in your close circle to help resolve the issue, in which they make it seem as if you are the problem. They get too close too fast. Yep. He did. Emotional manipulators may share their intimate secrets and vulnerabilities with you right off the bat. Absolutely, he did, for which you might create a feeling of closeness. But, says Frederick, their goal is to make you feel special so that you divulge your own secrets, which they can then use to control and further manipulate you. Yep, he told me he'd been cheated on. I told him my story of how I'd been cheated on, been raped, and he took every bit of that and took advantage of it. They tell you it's for your own good. Oh, I love that one. Manipulators are highly skilled at making you think that what's best for them is what's best for you. Even when your first take on it is that it feels very wrong, not aligned with your genuine values, they work hard to adjust the thinking and reasoning of their victim in any way that suits them, says Kelly. Absolutely. When he became impotent, his penis didn't work, his thoughts were the only way to get it to work was if I were to be having sex with somebody else and him watching or sees pictures afterwards, then it'll work. Well, yeah, that worked for a while. And when I say for a while, I mean maybe 2 or 3 years, and then the whole thing just died. But he still wanted me to do other guys because it made him feel good. Because I'm still a healthy female with a sexual appetite. No, I didn't have a sexual appetite. So he would say having sex with other guys was for my good. In the last 6 years. It was for my good. Because I was a healthy woman of still sexual age. If I want it, I want it. If I don't, I don't. Don't push it. And that's what he did. They make sure you speak first. Asking probing questions gets you to share your thoughts early on. They can then use your answers to manipulate your decisions. Usually with a hidden agenda, absolutely. This is especially common in business relationships. Well, it's also common in marital relationships too. They project their feelings onto you. Does your loved one suddenly accuse you of cheating? Mm-hmm. Did your boss tell you you're having an emotional reaction to criticism? Mm-hmm. That can be a telltale sign that they themselves are guilty of the very same. Manipulators often project their feelings onto others. Oh, absolutely. They twist facts. They are masters at altering reality with lies or misstatements to confuse you. Again, keep you confused. Frederick says of manipulators, adding that they may exaggerate events to make themselves seem more vulnerable, so you'll feel inclined to support and stand by them. They may also underplay their role in a conflict to gain your sympathy. Oh, they discount your concerns as if your concerns mean nothing. If you ask questions, make a suggestion, offer your opinion, or voice a criticism, they often respond aggressively. Yep. They will try to make you feel dumb, uninformed, silly, or guilty. They use guilt as a tool and silence as a weapon, says Kelly. This one I love. They one up your problems. Oh, absolutely. Well, let's see. Well, you had one cheat on you. Well, I had 3 cheat on me, so, what can I say there? Yeah, right. So, your problems always take a back seat to their concerns. And for anything you've been through, well, they've been through worse. Instead of listening when you have a problem, an emotional manipulator may take the opportunity to bring up their own issues. No shit, Sherlock. Their goal being to invalidate your experience so that you're forced to focus on them and their problems. You're always just joking when they say something mean or rude, making critical or hurtful comments, and then brushing them off, claiming, "Oh, it's just a joke," or maybe, "Oh, it's just being sarcastic." It's a way for them to get their barbs in and hurt you without accepting responsibility, says Frederick. Absolutely. They use your insecurities against you. Kelly says once they've identified your weaknesses, a manipulator will use them to hurt you and exploit you. Think of it as a type of emotional blackmail. Absolutely. They make you sound out of control or unreasonable. Has anyone ever told you that your feelings are too much, or even suggest you're mentally ill for being worried or angry? Your feelings are valid because they are your feelings, says Stern. The fact that that you experience them makes them real. They are never wrong, even if you catch a manipulator in a lie or a mistake. Excuse me. They probably won't admit it, says Stern. Instead, they will find a way to justify their actions or make them seem someone else's fault. They use guilt trips and ultimatums. Frederick says both guilt trips and ultimatums are designed to put you in a difficult spot where you are forced to make a decision in that moment. Without the opportunity to think about it, they may make comments and take actions meant to leave you feeling vulnerable and upset. Yeah, my husband used to always tell me if I screwed up doing one of the guys, that if I didn't do it right the next time, there would be a consequence. And usually he would make that consequence double worse than the act that I was doing. So, he'd tell me I'd have to do 2 guys or something like that the next time if I didn't do it right the first time. I mean, let's see, I didn't want to do it the first time, and you're going to make me do it doubly? Ugh. So glad I'm out of it. Okay, so they give you the silent treatment. I always love that one. Abruptly stopping all types of communication is an effective way of dehumanizing you and gaining control over you, says Frederick. In a relationship with an emotional manipulator, you may do just about anything to stop feeling the sense of punishment. They will say or do something and later deny it. Oh, hell yes. Oh, hell yes. Live through that. I never said that. It's like every 6 months or so, we would have this discussion about stopping the sex thing. And I remember one time he told me This is when we lived in Frederick. And when I turned 65, I could stop if I wanted to. I did. No, he wouldn't let me stop. I never said that. As a catchphrase of the emotional manipulator, says Stern, they may accuse you of having a bad memory or making things up. Oh, hell yeah. I made things up every day. What to do if you are being emotionally manipulated? Emotional manipulation is never healthy. It's important to stop the interaction as soon as possible. If you're not sure that what you are experiencing is in fact emotional manipulation, allow yourself some space, step back from the other person. Even if the relationship has caused you to grow distant from people who truly care about you, consider reaching out to them and seeking their feedback. You could tell them you need some time and patience, that maybe you're not ready to end your relationship right this moment, but you're doing some serious thinking to evaluate whether it's a situation that's positive enough for you to remain in. What to say to an emotional manipulator? One-on-one with your manipulator, therapist Kelly says, the first step is to call it out and name it with your words. You might try, are you trying to make me feel guilty? Or, I trust my memory of the incident. From there, establish your personal boundaries. Enforce them with clear, direct communication. Kind people often resist this for fear of being rude or causing a scene. But you've got to be strong. Manipulators will use your caring traits and self-aware patterns against you. Remember that the goal is not to convince them or make them see it your way, but rather just to make your message known, Kelly says. Then make decisions that feel right and healthy for you. Recognizing that the emotional abuser will likely not agree with it. True. This can feel easier said than done. So if you find yourself constantly struggling with emotional manipulation, it might be time to seek out a therapist who can help you recognize the patterns and develop healthy communication skills. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we all need to do. Work together on our communication skills. We need to let our manipulators know that we don't like how they're acting. That we think they need to just stop. Manipulation is not good for anybody. No, it's not. I got my doggy down here. She's looking up at me. She's such a sweetheart. I just love her to pieces. She's my bestest friend. She really is. You know, I live with my mother and my son, but they can both be a headache. They can be stressful to me because Mom doesn't want to do what I ask her to do. She says I'm always bossing her around, and I'm not. I'm just making suggestions. Mom, you need to do this. Mom, you need to do that. Get up off your butt. You need to work your legs. Exercise a little bit. Not big exercises like I do, But she needs to do some exercises, walking around the house, using her muscles. And with that, peace out, love, happy Sunday. What, 3 more weeks to Christmas? Santa's watching you. God's watching you. Be kind to one another. Talk to you later. Bye.